This is Ready Set Reiki. This is a podcast about Reiki, the universal energy life force. Welcome to all your curious beginners and even your seasoned master Reiki teachers. We accept all levels and all lineages. So, as we're on this journey of exploring this modality of love and service called Reiki, you are fortunate enough not only to have one guide, but two guides. So, I'm your first guide, Tracy Searight.
And I'm your second guide, Millie Pampina. And today we are honored to have one of our very own Reiki masters, Linda Yarbrough, with us. We have known Linda for some time, and we always go back to Linda for updates and refreshers, and it's so enjoyable to see her here and sharing this moment with her. So, Linda, I see that you have been, it's like you grew up in Reiki, but we know that you didn't. Um, you are a 14-year veteran of the Reiki experience, a master teacher of UC, Holy Fire, and Karuna Reiki, all levels of each, practitioner of Reiki for adults, children, and animals, practitioner of Reiki for palliative and hospice care. Thank you. Practitioner of quantum healing therapy, practitioner of assemblage point realignment, and integrative energy therapy with angels. You became interested in all things spiritual after a terrible tragedy where you lost your brother and sister in a house fire when you were 21. You were concerned about the journey of their souls, and this caused you to turn to the spiritual to find answers. In your quest to learn, you attended classes about angels at a local community college, where unbeknownst to you, you would meet your future Reiki master and mentor, Kathy Duffy, owner of the Energy Connection Creative Healing and Reiki School, which I think is wonderful because that's where we all met originally. And while there, during a visit with Kathy for a spiritual reading, Kathy suggested that you try Reiki for an injury that you had sustained a year earlier from a fall down a flight of stairs. And during that session, you experienced a miracle healing with the Reiki energy and began your journey into a life of helping others to heal with this beautiful healing modality. So beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. And what I'd love you to do is just tell us a little more about yourself in your own words.
Thank you, Millie and Tracy. I am so delighted to be here with you. It's an honor, and I've always loved sharing time with both of you. Meeting you in those Reiki classes feels like way back when, because you both have progressed so far since then, but it really hasn't been that long ago. And I am so honored to be able to say that I was your master teacher and to support you in this journey. I was just a little piece of it. And I'm honored to see how far this journey is taking both of you. You have picked it up and ran with it. And the creative expression just blows me away. So congratulations to both of you. And thank you for bringing me on to this podcast. I really appreciate that. With what you read, I'll go into a little bit more detail on that as we go through the podcast, but I am the mother of two children of my own, and I also have a stepson, and I'm a grandmother of three wonderful grandchildren who are growing up way too quickly. And I really love helping people, helping them to be their best selves. And that's always been what I've wanted to do from a little girl up. I always wanted to be a nurse, but I didn't make it into that field. So this is the next best thing for me, is being able to use Reiki to teach others, support others, and help them to become the best person that they can be too. So I'm really excited about that. I did work in corporate America for 36 years of my working life, and 8 of those years were in banking, and 22, I can't even remember now, 28 years in a public water utility where I worked in the health and safety field. And I was a trainer. I was a compliance officer, so to speak, in the safety field. So I inspected job sites and had to write people up when they weren't doing the right things, which I always hated to do because that didn't fall in with helping people. In a sense, it did because it made them better at what they do. But it was a long and really sometimes very arduous career. So I'm happy to say that I am retired from that now. I have been retired for 5 years. And although I was doing Reiki while I was still working, while I was still doing my corporate job, I was able then to jump into it full time after I retired. And I just really enjoy what I'm doing. I am a part of the Energy Connection in North Huntington, Pennsylvania, which is a small town southeast of Pittsburgh, PA. So I am in the Pittsburgh area now, living in Greensburg, but working in North Huntington. I've been a Reiki practitioner for 14 years and a teacher for 11 of those 14 years. I've also done a lot of volunteer work in my life. I've always been, like I said, drawn to help other people. So I did all kinds of volunteer work, and all of those amazingly have rolled into getting me to where I am today. And I never saw that as I was doing them, but it's amazing how our life path is kind of set forward in a way that we don't even recognize when it's happening. So I did work for the Salvation Army. I ran a lot of their programs, helped with a lot of their programs, actually went out to sites to help people when they were in tragic circumstances. And then I also volunteered for many years with a domestic violence sexual assault facility and did counseling there. Also worked on a suicide hotline for a while. I've done food pantry work. I've done now hospice, and still I'm continuing to do hospice care for 10 years. And that brings me a lot of joy, actually. And people would probably say, how can that be joyful? But we'll talk about that a little bit later. And I've always had a knack to create. So for a while, I baked wedding cakes. I did crafts and still do some crafts, but not as much as I used to do. And would go to craft shows and sell things. I worked with essential oils and sold those for a while. My husband has a supplementation company, so do a little bit of work with that, but that's kind of his baby too. So I let him handle that. So that's a little about me. Right now I'm just loving life, enjoying whatever comes my way.
I'm having a hard time, Linda, following the word retirement in all this because seems like you're a lot busier now than you ever have been, and we thank you because it's you're so focused on the community and the well-being, greater good of all, and thank you. A little bit in your bio about why Reiki and when it came into your life. So maybe if you would like to expand on that a bit, because it's a wonderful story.
Okay. Reiki actually found me. It presented itself to me, as it does for many people. I'm not the only one that has happened to. It just kind of draws us into it. But 14 years ago, through a personal experience, as you had mentioned in the beginning bio, I had fallen down the steps at home a year prior to finding Reiki. And although nothing was broken, I was having trouble keeping my hip where it should be. And so I was progressively getting worse, even though I was treating with a chiropractic I was doing acupuncture. I was doing pretty much anything that I could find to help alleviate that problem getting worse. And nothing was helping me at that point. And so I met Kathy Duffy at the community college, as you had mentioned. And for whatever reason, I kept the information that she had handed out at the class that I had attended. Because when my brother and sister died, I was trying to really figure out where they were, what was going on with them, because it was so tragic. And I was honestly, at 21 years old, I was still a child too, and didn't understand a whole lot about spirituality and, just what happens to us at that time. And so I was taking any kind of class I could that would lead me into knowing more about that aspect of self and what happens to us at that time in our life. And so I kept Kathy's information. And years later, I had received a letter from my sister's fiance, which was really kind of strange to me. I'm sorry, that kind of brings up so many emotions. And I was confused by it and some of the things that he said in it, because he said that he was taken up to heaven by her and he visited her in heaven. And I could not understand how that was even possible. And so I went to Kathy. I had arranged an appointment with her for a spiritual reading. And I took this letter with me. And as soon as she held that letter in her hand, she never opened it during the whole reading, but she held that letter in her hand and she felt heat, tremendous heat from it, and then associated that with the fire and was able to give me some peace into just the whole aspect of spirituality. But even prior to that, my brother and sister passed on Easter weekend. And from that time until my brother's birthday in September, I was worried about where their souls went, because the religious background that I had was, if we weren't baptized, we weren't going to heaven. And it troubled me. It really troubled me. And on my brother's birthday, I actually was awakened during the middle of the night, and he was standing at the foot of my bed. So that started that journey for spirituality. And I'm not saying that Reiki is all spirituality. There's well, don't know what word I want to use there. There's a component of it. That's the word I was searching for. And with that, I was able to kind of move forward and to know that there's more that exists out there than just dying and we're done. So that helped me to feel a lot better. But while I was, this is a long way to get to the point, but while I was at this reading with Kathy, she noticed that I was not walking very well, because I was having trouble even getting up the steps at night at home to go to bed. I was pretty much crawling. So I was not walking well. And obviously she noticed that. So she asked me if I had ever tried Reiki, and I just looked at her with a puzzled look on my face. And it's like, no, I don't know what that is. I had never even heard the word before. And so she explained it to me, and my thoughts were like, I don't understand how that can help. She's not touching. She's working with energy, which at that point in time, I didn't understand a lot about. And I thought it was a little bit crazy, to be honest with you. And so it took me almost 2 months to actually call and make an appointment with her. But when I did, I went in for the session, and as she was working on my body, because with Reiki, you're working with the energy from head to toe. And when she got down to that hip area in my body, I felt like I was being stabbed, and like there was just this really deep energy source going around whatever was stabbing me like a tornado. And I started to cry. I mean, it really hurt that badly. And so she stopped what she was doing and asked what was going on. And I explained to her that this pain in my side was really bad. And I described it as someone stabbing me. And so she just worked with me, having me grab a handle of this imaginary knife that was in my side and pull that energy out and just release it. And then once we finished that, she continued the session until she got down to my feet and grounded me, and she was finished. And when I got up off that table, I had no pain in my hip. So I do call it a miracle. It was just unbelievable how good I felt. And so my first question was to her was, what was that? And the next one was, can I do it? And she said, well, actually, yes, we're a Reiki school. And so I took the very next class that was on the calendar and just went for it from there, and was a master teacher within 2.5 years. Because I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to share this with as many people as I could. And it's been an amazing journey ever since. So I love it. It's part of me now and part of both of you.
Thank you. Yes, you're right there in the above us in our lineage tree. So it's always good to know that how sincere you are about it, and how much you do enjoy it, because certainly I've gained that energy from interacting with you as well.
Thank you.
So, the next question we have is, what do you find is a common perception about Reiki, and do you agree with this perception regarding your client base or your work? Why or why not? That's a question we've asked everybody, because it's just so important, because people can be all over the board about it. You just gave some very specific examples for yourself. So, what do you find is that common perception when you meet with someone?
There's a lot of disbelief that the ease of what we do can actually help someone. And depending on how you describe it to a person, you may get the woo-woo thing or the wacky or silly. They just can't think that it's real. And how could something like that really work? And so for me, I just try to use real life examples to explain how it works. And I like to do little mini sessions to help people understand how energy moves within us. And I have a nuclear engineer for a husband. And so when it comes to explaining Reiki, I know the basics of it because he's explained it to me. It doesn't always stick in my brain. But if someone really wants to know the scientific aspect of it, I send them to him. And even though he is very scientifically minded, because he does understand energy, he can really explain it to people, and he supports me 100% in what I do. So
That's wonderful.
It works out beautifully.
Yeah. Yeah. I do notice in some of your work with hospice and what that, you feel strongly that people have used this as their to benefit themselves and have lived longer because they were able to work with, interpersonal healing and those things. How do you feel that came about with the Reiki and during the Reiki treatments?
With hospice patients, there have been so many different things that I've seen happen. And what I see really with that is that one benefit of it is they relax so much, at that point in their life when they're anticipating that they may not be here much longer and they have all these loved ones around that they don't want to leave. The Reiki energy can help them to relax enough that can help them come to terms to what's happening. And so it just brings them to a point that amazes me. I have had so many beautiful, beautiful experiences with my hospice patients. And I've actually had some that have that were not anticipated to live more than a month or two, go on to live for 5 years. So, it's with Reiki, it enables our mindset to change. And I believe our minds are so, so powerful, so that in situations where a person isn't really ready to let go yet, I think the power of the mind with that energy of Reiki can really change their perspectives. And it's kind of a new start with some people. In others, it's a new start too, but it's a new start on the other side. And I've actually been with people who have had tremendous experiences in the transitional phase. And if you've ever been with someone who is in that stage of their life, they do go through stages where for a while they'll be right there just as they always were with you. And then they'll look like they're sleeping, but they're not actually sleeping. They're going through a transitional phase. And it's a beautiful thing to be a part of that. And one example that I can talk about was with my father-in-law years ago when he was passing. I was with him for 2 weeks before he actually passed. And during the transitions, he would tell me what he was seeing and how all of that was going. And he would ask me questions about what it was like. And I couldn't answer that. I just said, Dad, I don't know, because in this lifetime, I don't remember doing it. But from things that I've read and sources where I've seen people profess what's happened to them, there are ways that you can let us know that you're still around. And we talked about different ways. And he chose to use electricity to let us know that he was still around after he passed. And it was quite interesting because my husband had taken his computer down to be with him. He lived in Florida, so we were taking turns going to stay with him. And I was with him at the end. But then everybody came in, of course. And my husband set the computer right at the head of his bed, and he played 40s and 50s music, which my father-in-law loved, because he loved doing those old dances that I don't even know what they are, like jitterbug and whatever, the swing dances. And as he took his very last breath, that computer shut down and said goodbye and shut down. And then after that experience, the next night, after we had made funeral arrangements and all of that, we were just sitting around playing a game at the kitchen table. And all of a sudden, the light above the table went off and came back on. And it did that about 4 times. And finally, my sister and I looked at each other and we just looked up and said, "Okay, Dad, we know you're here." And the next night, we had the viewing and then came back to the house. And there were a lot of people that came back to the house with us. And interestingly enough, the lamp right beside me went off and came back on. And then one across the room went off and came back on. And then the ceiling lights started doing it. And it was so him, because he was a practical joker and he was letting us know that he was still around. And it's just those unique experiences like that in working with hospice patients or people at the end of life. And I've been with many family members at that time. I've been with friends at that time, in addition to the hospice patients that I don't really know, but I'm there for them whenever they need someone to be there. And it brings such peace. And I've had people, as they're going through that transformation, I just lost that word too, when they're transitioning, look up at me when they came back and get the biggest smiles on their faces and say, "You're an angel." And all I'm doing is sitting beside them and holding space for them, maybe with my hand on their arm, and just allowing the Reiki energy to flow. And it brings such a beauty to those sessions. It's just awesome. And it's an honor, truly an honor, to be with people at that time.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Really beautiful, Linda. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, it's almost difficult to go on to the next question, but on we go. What does your client base look like, and what are the goals or intentions that you do feel comfortable working with?
Honestly, at this point, very seldom do I have a challenge. So I embrace the challenges. I have worked with newborn babies. I've been in the labor and delivery rooms with moms when they're giving birth. Beautiful experience as well. My daughter, as an example, I was with her for all three of my grandchildren, and her labors were like 3.5 hours and less. So it was just wonderful to be beside her and sending Reiki as she's going through the birthing process. And then to see those babies come out into the world, and you gave them a blessing while they were inside, and just blessing them as they've come through that process, because sometimes that can be traumatic for infants. And so it's just bringing love and light to babies at that time. And so that's also an honor to be able to do that. So I've worked with people from newborn to, I think my oldest was 96 years old. So it's all ages and stages of life. I've worked with many types of issues. I've had autistic children that I've been able to really see some advancement with, where they've changed from totally nonverbal, non-communicative to letting me pick them up and hold them, and taking my hand and leading me to things. So it's just been an amazing experience there. In today's world, there's a lot of anxiety. So I deal with anxiety quite often. Also grief, a lot of grief, with COVID and everything that's been going on with that. There are so many people that have lost their lives, and they've left loved ones. Just wondering, why did this happen? Because it happened so sudden. And, they're in their normal life, and all of a sudden they're gone. So a lot of grief. I work with that. I've also worked with mental illness and all types of physical pain, stress. Stress is a big thing these days, with all that's going on in the world around us today. People are very stressed, and just working a normal life, living it, working it, which work seems to take the majority of time. People are just stressed beyond belief. And so being able to give them just a few moments of peace and quiet and relaxation, I think it brings so much to them. And I work with a lot of therapists too that are seeing people, counseling, and they need that time to just bring themselves back into that space of peace too. And Reiki can do that for them. I've worked with a lot of emotional trauma. People, sometimes it's hard to let go of maybe words that someone said to you. There's an anger issue going on for whatever reason. And Reiki can help us to be able to find forgiveness in our hearts and to be able to open our hearts and find more love in our hearts and be present in that love. And that, I have to say, is probably the biggest blessing that I myself has received, is to be able to feel that love and that expansion. And it's just amazing to be able to share that with other people. And Reiki was the impetus that started that whole thing. A lot of self-growth and just taking on the challenge.
Thank you. I'm feeling relaxed and balanced just listening to you come forward with this. So,
It comes back to that card again, relaxation.
Yep, there
Remember,
we
we
go.
picked it in the beginning. Before we
Absolutely, Tracy. And, along with the good and the other things, what could be a common misperception about your work? And have you had to use this to limit any particular area of your service, or pushed yourself to find ways to educate others?
A common misperception, I think, really people don't understand energy, and they don't realize that we're all made up of energy. And so it affects us, whether positive or negatively, it affects us. Reiki can bring in that positive influence to the energy and help us to find balance within ourselves. So I don't know if I would call it a misperception about my work, but people just don't understand how it works and how it can help them. Because as a practitioner, and both of you know, we're not actually massaging someone to make their muscles feel better, or not, we're not doing anything like that. It's just that very light touch. And it's just working in that energy field to balance out that energy. And balance, I believe, is so key. That's how we work best. That's how our bodies work best. So balancing out the positive, we're always going to have positive, we're always going to have negative, but we wouldn't know one without the other. So it's just bringing balance to that point in our lives. Life force energy, it makes us who we are and makes us function the way that we're meant to. So a lot of balance, not a lot of misperception.
That's wonderful to hear. And along with that, one of my favorite questions is, what other tools do you use in your practice that you find helpful? Oils, crystals, sound, divination, candles, herbs? All, none, some?
Well, as both of you know, I do like my tools from time to time. And you found your way to some of those tools as well. And I know that both of you have even expanded further than what I have. But I really feel that in my practice, I want people to feel comfortable and peaceful, and to bring them into that sense of relaxation. So atmosphere is really, really important. Having a calm, relaxing, peaceful place, not always possible, but sometimes we have to bring the peace with us just by who we are and how we speak and all of that. But in my treatment room, I keep the lights down low. I use candles that are not real fire burning candles, just because we're not allowed to burn down our building. So, but I have crystals in the room. I like to have plants. Unfortunately, my space is a little dark for that, but I think plants are very healing as well. And always soft music, even if I'm working with a hospice patient that is in a hospital or in a facility, I take music with me to have that to relax them and to help them feel more peaceful. And in my space, I have a biomat, which is very healing mat that people lay on, and people sometimes just like to come to lay on that biomat. But I really let my intuition guide what I'm using for people. So sometimes I will use essential oil sprays to clear energy or to just calm them down. There are a lot of different oils that will help bring peace and calmness to a person. I use crystals for healing, the healing qualities that they have, and each crystal is unique. So that's an intuitive thing too, to be able to choose what that client needs the most. I sometimes use singing bowls or other types of sound therapy because that vibration is it's very soothing to most people. There are some people that can't handle a singing bowl, but that again, going by intuition. So using sound therapy, I think is very, very important. I sometimes use pendulums. I sometimes use tuning forks. I use Bach flower essences. Sometimes even oracle cards if a client is having trouble figuring out where they want to go or what's happening in their life. Sometimes we'll pull out the oracle cards and do a card reading for them. It's really whatever that client needs to support their healing journey.
Wonderful. So you basically use your intuition at times to guide your use of these various tools.
I do. I really try to tune into the energy of the person that I'm working with. And just reading their energy a lot of times can tell me what's best for them.
Wonderful. So with that in mind too, I love this question. What do you wish your younger self knew about your current profession?
Oh, I wish my younger self knew all that I know now because it would have been so different. I think I would have been a completely different person had my younger self known that. The loss of my brother and sister, it would have been so much easier to get through trying times like that. And I've had a lot of loss in my family since that time. Geez. Life just could have been very different. I felt like when I was raising my children, I was one of those moms that was always yelling at them for something. Pick up your toys, do this, do that. They say they don't remember that, but I don't know. I just feel like I had a short fuse at times. And I think knowing Reiki, being able to utilize that for myself, it would have helped me to be more loving and caring and compassionate. I had a lot on my plate at the time when my children were young because I was going to college. I was working full time, raising two young children who were running different directions. And it was a lot of stress. Plus, keeping up the household and having the meals on the table for hubby. And there was a lot of stuff going on. And so if I would have known what Reiki could do for me, it definitely would have given me more peace, reduced my stress, and helped me to open up. It's always been really hard for me to communicate my thoughts and my feelings. I kind of always held those inside of myself. And that is one thing that Reiki has helped me with. As you can tell, I'm sitting here babbling on and don't seem to have a problem with that. But I wasn't always like that. And so it has helped me grow in so many ways and build stronger, more communicative relationships. And I think I could have really done a lot more as far as like you and Tracy are now, building that beautiful business. And I'm getting up into the twilight years. So, do you think about it all the time, or I do? Do I have the energy to put in creating my own center or doing this or doing that? And I'm thankful that I have the energy connection where I can be free to work with people and do my own thing if I want to do my own thing. So that's working out beautifully for me. So just a lot of self-healing that would have taken place long before it did.
And with that in mind, what is something everybody in your industry should stop or start doing? What do you have seen with your, many years of experience?
I think the thing that concerns me the most is that taking a weekend class and being certified to teach is not an appropriate beginning for people. So I see that happening a lot, and it gives me some concern because in the years that I've been teaching, I've seen people not from the energy connection because we do things differently there, but I have seen people take a 2 or 3 day class and go out and start teaching as a master. And I don't believe that you really know the energy of Reiki and the abilities that it has just from a weekend class. I think you have to experience it and work in it and let it work with you. So that's probably my biggest concern, is that people should be a little bit more educated. And in that same vein, I think people should continue to educate themselves as well. So taking whatever classes you're drawn to, because all of it can mesh with Reiki somehow. The sound healing, just working with crystals, whatever it is that draws you to it. And it can enhance what you're doing. But it's important to know, too, that you don't need anything else but Reiki, and you're still very, very powerful. Reiki knows what to do. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it certainly does go to where it's needed most.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, in that vein, the biggest challenge the industry is facing today and possibly in 10 years?
Well, I'm hearing a lot now about Reiki practitioners being licensed. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it definitely would change the freedoms of the business and limit what practitioners do, what choices they make. And so I don't, it's a challenge. It is a challenge. But is it a bad thing? I don't know about that. The nice thing is, William Rand of the International Center for Reiki Training he has put together a team of people to work with legislators to hopefully avoid the licensing. But then I look at it from other perspectives too, and there's a lot of times good things in having rules and abiding by those rules. And it kind of goes back to people going out and teaching other people to teach classes after a weekend class. So if it's licensed, then practitioners are going to have a skill set, and they're going to have that continued education in order to grow themselves. So it's kind of an energy versus modern medicine kind of thing. So there is really a lot to think about in regards to that. Yeah. But I do see it being a challenge.
Yeah, that's been pretty much the theme across everyone we've asked that question to. So, what advice would you give someone who is entering this profession now?
Just kind of going back to what we were saying before, learn your craft, develop yourself, and don't stop with a weekend class. And if you're going to do it as a business, treat it like a business. Be professional with people. Keep records of the treatments that you're doing. A lot of places don't even have you fill anything out. I do. I have people fill out a form when they come in to see me for the first time, and then I keep records after that. It's kind of for my benefit too, because sometimes you just don't remember everything that you need to remember when a person comes in. So it helps me, but it also shows that you have a professional practice, and so you're doing what you need to do in order to be the best person that you can be for the people that want your help. And another thing is learning to listen, because people come in and they may say words, but those words may not mean what they're actually experiencing or what they actually need help for. So it's, paying attention to body clues and really hear what they're saying, not those words that are rolling off of their tongue at that particular time, but hearing what they're saying. And trust your intuition. I think intuition, we don't give it a lot of the respect that it deserves. So it's, we all know the butterflies in the stomach or the punch in the gut, those kinds of things. Those are telling us something. That's our intuition telling us what we need to be aware of, what we need to know about ourselves, maybe something we need to change if it's happening a lot. So trust that intuition and really get into learning more about it.
Yeah, that's some good career advice. Even I'm sitting here taking some notes. So it never hurts to get a good shot in the arm. And, I find too that people would rather have you take the time to go through all that and, feel that they're getting, personal attention than if you just start in and they don't really have an idea as to what's happening. So I appreciate that for the audience.
Thank you.
So when you get treatments or when you visit with somebody, what are some of the qualities that you personally look for in a Reiki practitioner?
Well, because I am in touch with energy and I can feel the energy of other people, what I'm feeling about their energy plays a big role. I want someone who has that high vibration energy, someone that's professional, friendly. I like a friendly face, a smile. Someone who is really listening, hearing what I need, whether I'm saying it or not. They're caring enough to take the time to figure out what that is. And so I really look for someone that spends the time sufficiently enough that whatever time we have together is effective.
And getting towards the end here with our format questions, what training and books do you recommend for folks to really get out there?
Bookshelves. Just today, I brought a whole stack of books right here.
Yeah.
But some of the ones that I really recommend, I really like William Rand's, anything that he has written, just because he really tries to keep Reiki at its truest and purest form, the way it was originally developed. There are so many different kinds of Reiki out there now that if you Googled Reiki, you would see, I think one time I looked up how many different types there were and came up with like 1,200 plus. So everybody puts their own spin on Reiki. And I like the fact that he has spent his entire adult life keeping Reiki pure and doing it the way that it was originally developed. And so anything that he's written, I would recommend. Also, he's written several books by Walter Lubeck and Frank Orjava Petter that they're also working in the same vein that he is, keeping things as pure as what Reiki was originally developed as. And so the Healing Touch is one that I would recommend. And that's this book that William Rand wrote, but it has a lot of good information about it. It contains all the history, the fundamentals of Reiki, shows hand positions if you need to know where the hand positions are, treating certain diseases, all kinds of good information in that regard. And it's written for Reiki level 1 and 2. So it doesn't go into a lot of depth further than that, but it's a very understandable book to read. And another one that it goes a little bit deeper is Reiki Healer, A Complete Guide to the Path and Practice of Reiki. That one was written by Lawrence Elyard. And so there's more information that can take you into more of a depth of what Reiki is all about. If you are one that wants to work with patients, or I guess patients, we call them in hospice, working with patients in hospitals or hospice, because a lot of hospitals are using Reiki now, and some of the very big medical centers are. Just to name a few that I can think of off the top of my head are the Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, Yale, John Hopkins Hospital. So there's some big name hospitals that are actually using Reiki. So you might have the opportunity to volunteer even at a hospital. And there's a great resource, Raven Keys. It's RavenKeys, has really put together a nice, in-depth program for people that are working in hospitals. And this can even be within operating rooms. So they're actually doing these things now, which is really wonderful. So it's got to be telling you that Reiki is beneficial in so many ways. And I could go into that, but that'd be another topic altogether. So let's go back to books.
Well, you'll have to come visit us again, because I'm sure everybody would love to hear that. I do also know that Dr. Oz, his wife is a Reiki master, and he frequently has Reiki master in the operating room with him. So that's a good, somewhat of a good recommendation there, and endorsement. So thank you.
Raven Keys actually was one of the Reiki masters that has been in his surgeries for years.
Good.
So she's a good resource.
I appreciate that, because that's of all the books, I don't have that one, so I'm going to have to make sure I invest. And last of my formatted questions are, where can somebody find you? I know we put information on our ReadySetReiki.com site, but where can they find you if they're interested in a session or training?
They can contact me on my cell phone by calling or texting, and that number is 412-760-6933. They can also check out the Energy Connection website, which is theenergyconnection.net. And we have a calendar on there with our classes on. So you can look at that and see what all of us are doing. And it's a good way to know what's happening here. As I mentioned earlier, I live in Western Pennsylvania. So if you're not in Western Pennsylvania, you can still contact me. I do distance Reiki quite often. And we can do that by Zoom, by phone, however we can arrange to do that that's most comfortable. And also you can reach me by email. My email address is LLYARBRO@yahoo.com.
Thank you. And that information will also be on our website for the podcast. So now comes the exciting part. Tracy collects questions specifically that we receive from the website from viewers, and she boils it down to basically 3 of the top questions. And I'm going to turn it over to her so she can present those to you and we can hear your answers.
Thank you, Millie.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right. So if you're ever interested in submitting questions, you can reach out to us at www.ReadySetReiki.com or check us out on social media. So we had some comments on our pages that we have here, and one of them was, I am completely new to Reiki. What qualifications would I need to take a Reiki training?
Well, that's pretty simple to answer because it's just the desire to want to learn Reiki. it's available for anyone to learn, and it's very easy to learn. It's an energy thing, so it's just working with the energy and the desire. So, just like me getting off that table and saying, what is it and can I learn it? It was that simple to get me started. There are different levels of Reiki, and different schools of Reiki teach different ways. But in our school, we have a level 1, which is where you learn to do Reiki for yourself and for others that are immediately in the area that you're in, and your pets. So you can even give Reiki to your pets. They love it too. Animals are very sensitive to energy, so that's fun. The second level, if you want to go deeper, some people do, some people don't. Some people just want to heal themselves. Others want to go a little bit further. And so in the second level, you're going to get the ability to work with mental and emotional issues. And you're also going to be able to send distance Reiki, which means that you can send it to anyone, anywhere in the world. And if that sounds crazy to anyone, you have a cell phone that your call can go anywhere in the world. That's energy just like Reiki. So it can be sent to other people, other places. And it's great for if a disaster occurs, or I hate to even say this, the shootings and things that have been happening. You would then have the ability to send Reiki to all of those people that are involved in that situation. And you just don't feel as helpless then when those kinds of things happen. Could even be in natural disasters. You're sending love is what you're really doing. Love and a special prayer. And who can't use that? And then the last level, level 3, is looking deeper into your own spiritual growth. And that can be a very transformative level, going really deep into that aspect of you and finding out what truly makes you tick, and helping you really to become the best person that you can be. So, and then at our school, we go into a teacher internship. And in the internship, you're given ample opportunity to spend whatever time you need, but you have to do so many hands-on Reiki sessions. You have to do so many distance Reiki sessions. You have to read books. You have to do talks. I mean, we do give you a lot of work to do. And you sit in on our classes so that you see how we teach. And then if you need help when you're ready to teach your classes, we'll be there to support you as well. So that's how we do it at the Energy Connection.
I have to say, as I expanded my territory out in the field here of Reiki, I've come across many people that didn't even know there was a level 4, and they did exactly kind of what you had said about, taking that weekend class, or they had their teacher attunement in their level 3 with not that much, and they're out here, teaching. And so they're usually surprised when I say, oh, I'm a level 4, and they're like, well, are you sure you did the same kind of Reiki that I did? I'm like, I did. And I just felt it so much more valuable to take that time because I was able to sit through those classes and see what worked, what didn't work. And that really helped create and style my classes for my students. So I really, value the experience. When I had first heard like, wow, you got that in 3? Now, wait a minute. But then I paused and thought, wow, like, how much more information I got with it, and with such more of a value, and felt I was a stronger and better teacher because of it, because I was teaching students things that, I didn't learn until I was in that 4th level. Like, hey, like, here's a book that I wish I had day 1, or, here's this and that. So it's really a valuable tool that I had to have that year experience. So Millie also did the year internship with me. So that's what made the energy connection unique for us. So as I said, as I'm finding out, as I'm meeting people, when I went to Sayulita, there were 2 other women there that were Reiki master teachers, and they said they got their attunement in 3. So a little different. That's where that inconsistency in the field comes in, so.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Tracy, for saying how beneficial that was to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know you were teaching too. You were a teacher.
Right.
And going out and teaching something else that you haven't really felt a lot of prior to doing that is difficult. I spent many years in my corporate job as a trainer. So I was teaching people. And I still, when I went into especially the Holy Fire training and got a certificate where, okay, I'm able to teach this. Well, no, I really wasn't. I mean, it took some time and intention in developing that program the way that it worked best for me. So thank you. Thank you for.
Yeah, that really helped. And because a lot of the other practitioners that I've met, they were like, yeah, we're not ready yet. We need to still build our manual. So that really helped that I was able to build a manual and see, okay, let's tweak it here, let's tweak it there, then go in and teach and say, okay, I'm going to change this or do that. So it really helped having that year to kind of marinate on and your skill, so. Yeah, so that's what I felt was beneficial through the energy connection, because I've not seen it. I'm out here in El Paso, Texas. I have not seen it as a 4 here. I'd offer it, but I've not seen it elsewhere so far. So, yes. So our next question. So our audience member placed, I have heard that Reiki can be returned to sender. If that is so, have you ever had Reiki returned to you?
I have heard that as well. And we do mention that in our classes, but I never actually have had the Reiki returned to me. But one thing that we do teach our students is intention is very, very powerful. And so when we're setting our intentions to send Reiki to someone, we set the intention that if that recipient is not able or willing to accept that Reiki, then we just ask for it to be sent to Mother Earth so that she can use that for whatever healing process that she needs to heal this planet. And so, no, I have to say, I have not had it returned to me.
All right. And I know you answered a little bit of this in one of your questions, but why do you think that energy work and hospice care are so important? Why do you feel they walk hand in hand with each other?
Well, we all know that death is a normal part of life. It happens to all of us. It will happen to each of us sitting here at some point in time. And so what I have seen with it is that it just brings peace to not only the person that's going through the death process, but to the family members that are around as well. So we offer Reiki to the caregivers or any family members that are open to it and would like to receive it. It's not just for the person that's going through the process of dying, it's for the family as well. And any way that we can bring peace to them is just so beneficial. And it helps to alleviate a lot of the fear in that death process, depending on spiritual concerns. It can be very traumatic for people, and they've created a fear within themselves, and so they're afraid to let go. And I've had that happen several times, where someone was just so ready to be done, and they couldn't, because they were holding on to that burden of fear. And so Reiki can help to release that and ease that transitional unease, I guess we'll call it. So, and with that, I'd like to say too that there are a lot of people that think Reiki and spirituality or religion are tied together. Reiki and spirituality, yes. Reiki and religion, no. Reiki is not a religion in any way, shape, or form. And so it is just bringing in that energy that's all around us and utilizing that energy to help balance ourselves out. And so just wanted to let everyone know that Reiki supports our beliefs in a way that works for us.
Thank you. That was beautifully said. Another thing that that ends our questions, but I wanted to say just this little bit that Reiki, I arrived to it by grief. That's how I came to it. And a very good friend of mine, my best friend, had always spoken about Reiki. You need to try it. Maybe this is something that could work for you. And I was quite hesitant about it. And I did a Google search, and up came the energy connection, and opened that up and looked at it, and I found Linda's name. And that was the very first step that I took on my journey, by emailing her, and she so kindly emailed me back and gave me the information. So she was the very first step on my journey. And, after that, I was running. So I just want to thank her for that. She was that first connection that I made in my journey. So thank you so much for, starting me off on this Reiki path. So I really appreciate it. So
thank you, Tracy. It's been my honor through the whole process. I have enjoyed just seeing you grow and seeing who you've become through all of this. And Millie as well. Millie quit her corporate job right after she took a Reiki class from us. So thank you both for just trusting in the process and allowing yourselves to become the beautiful superstar Reiki people that you are. Thank you.
Yeah, and it just takes that one step, just reaching out, seeing what it's all about. And I just thought I was going to take one class. And that was going to be a one and done. And then it turned into elevating teaching. So you never know where this is going to take you. So again, trust the process. It's all about that intent. So yes. So, well, thank you for joining us today on Ready, Set, Reiki. And again, you can find us at www.readysetreiki.com. And I was one of your guides, Tracy Searight.
And I am your other guide, Millie Pampera. And remember, to see beauty in everything is a choice, so please choose wisely. Thank you.